Speaking during the official Youth Day commemoration event at Mangaung in the Free State yesterday, Deputy President Paul Mashatile says government's programs are focused on addressing challenges faced by the youth. He added that the government will soon implement targeted programs such as land reform and agricultural support to empower the vulnerable groups. For more on this, we're now joined by Billy Silegane, an organizational effectiveness specialist. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I know that you have a lot of engagements and relations with young people, be it through motivational work or other sectors of your job. Talk to us about what you encounter on a day-to-day when it comes to the youth sentiment and what they feel about what the country is doing or perhaps what the country is not doing.
Well, good evening, and thanks for having me, and good evening to your viewers. Well, it's documented proof and something that every human being in this country encounters. Statistically, we're told over 60% of young people are without job. So in my work, I encounter quite a great number of these young people. Even though the situation is a bit dire, there seems to be some hope. And I'll give you an example where this hope comes from. I mean, I'm part of an associated organization, Empower Works, that does a lot of work in the youth space. We've just finished a week-long Empower Youth process in Orange Farm, which affected over 60,000 to 70,000 young people from the area and from surrounding areas. Even though it is tough out there, a lot of these young people, all they want is a space for them to express themselves. And express themselves through employment, express themselves through the entrepreneurial flair, and express themselves through contributing to the growth and movement of the nation in whatever form and way that they can be given the opportunity to do so. So I guess that, and the difference between this youth and us is that we were fighting a different kind of evil. And today they are fighting something which is sometimes much more overwhelming, because it's not only the local economy that's the challenge. It's a global phenomenon that economy around the world is just at this brink almost. And every nation is trying to do the best that they can to make sure that they bring in those that have been excluded in the mainstream economy into the forefront of the economy. So our association with Empower Works and being supported by TITA, we are not only connecting with these young people, but we're giving them real-time opportunities, both at employment, mentorship, internships, some business venture, new venture capital, and a lot of other processes that are happening. And with the promulgation of the Township Economy Act, that will also give rise to government, especially directly spending with township-owned young businesses, so that they can also be part of the mainstream economy. So even though it is tough out there, there is some hope, because there are people who are very considerate, who believe in the dream of the African child, and this collective works relentlessly to make sure that this dream that we see in these kids become realized in our lifetimes.
I mean, with the glimmer of hope that you speak to, the translation doesn't seem to be seen when it comes to election time, because as you and I speak, what's been uncovered is that there are 14 million unregistered young people in South Africa, that the largest and most influential voting cohort, many are not willing to vote because they feel unrepresented. Where do you think the loopholes lie when it comes to the youth feeling that they are represented and acknowledged or perhaps heard by government?
Well, we all know that our cabinet is probably one of the oldest in the country. We still have people over the age of 70 running around trying to decide policy frameworks that affect people as young as 14, 15. I think, quite honestly, if you look at all political parties, there is not enough robust youth representation. And it is both historic and current. And therefore, these young people, they don't only feel disillusioned by particular parties, they feel disillusioned by the government system, by the democratic process which they believe has not reached where it's supposed to reach. By giving them opportunities, by listening to them, and making sure that the agenda of the young person is at the forefront. Because if you look at Africa as a continent, we've got the youngest population on planet Earth, and yet youth representation in very critical sectors of our society, it's unfounded. We can't find it. And I think also the private sector, because, it's easy for us to say government this and government that, but we must also understand that the power lies in the hands of those that control the economy. And who controls the economy? The private sector in this country controls the economy. And if you look at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, you look at companies that are listed there, how many of them have got black women as leaders? How many of them have got black representation? Now, until there's a concerted effort of understanding that we need to transform this society, especially the young people, because if we don't, we are sitting on top of a time bomb. And I don't want to say this in a negative way, but we might experience our own Arab Spring, because these numbers of these young people is massive. And they try and they push, but still, I don't believe that their voice is being heard enough. However, we do have people and organizations in this country that are trying to listen, not only listen, but engage with the young people. But this needs to go, we need to accelerate it like there's no tomorrow, especially because private sector have got a quicker decision-making matrix than government. Private sector can speed up youth inclusivity in the economy faster and more efficient than government can.
Yeah, yeah. Smaller political parties are trying to leverage and perhaps sharpen their focus on gaining the youth vote. What would you say when it comes to the messaging and the strategies that need to be used to attract young people? Where do you think they lie? Is it a matter of an educational, or is it just appealing to the young voter and perhaps putting yourself in their shoes to understand the sort of crisis and challenges that are being faced right now?
I think, these young people don't want to become voting fodder. They don't want to just show up and vote for you, and then you disappear. Then you see them again when you want them to vote for you. They want to be engaged. They want to be part of the dialogue. They want to be part of the decision-making process. So if you are a young political organization that tries to get to these people, bring them in the fold. Let them be the ones that are at the forefront of decision-making and policy framework. It doesn't help for you to say, I'm going to create very clever messages. I'm going to use Instagram. I'm going to, it smokes and mirrors. These young people need real change and transformation. So whoever wants to be in power in the next coming election, they don't need to go and talk to these people. They've got to get them to own the processes of transforming this nation. Just sending messages to them on Twitter, on Facebook, and saying, I'm going to use the same medium that they use, it means nothing until they are part of the decision-making framework. And they are inside, not from the outside, because at the moment, everybody sees them as a voting bloc. But how many people say they must be inside and help in the decision-making processes of these parties? Very few.
Yeah, absolutely. And very lastly, before we let you go, what would you say to the young people who may be sitting at home watching us and perhaps also having observed June 16 and being part of the Youth Day celebrations, or perhaps feeling left out and underrepresented and perhaps disheartened? What would you say to them?
Well, I'll say to them, 1976 was a different struggle. 2024 is going to be a completely different one, where young people have to show up and own their dreams. And like I said, we've got organizations like Empower Works that are running Empower Youth programs around the country. Show up and be part of the process of change. Sitting at home and pointing fingers is not going to help anybody. We all have to roll our sleeves. We all have to show up. We all have to contribute. And contribution, it means you show up and you do something in your society, because you never know who's watching. Because most people get opportunities because they showed up. If you don't show up, opportunities, I usually say to people that an opportunity travels in a straight line. It does not make a U-turn. If it comes and you're not ready, it goes past you. So young people have to stand up. They have to be bold. They have to be strong. They've got to understand that ultimately they are the architects of the outcome of their lives. And they can never entrust their lives on somebody else but themselves. And like I said, we, as an associate organization to Empower Works with the Empower Youth Program, we intend to affect over 20 million young people in the sub-Sahara region. And I promise you, we've started this over 20 years ago, and now we're seeing traction now. And most of the young people that come to our processes and get amazing opportunities are those that show up. Young people have to show up for themselves. They can never, ever want government to do this, government to do that. They have to show up. All I'm saying is there's hope in this country. We're waking up every day. We're passionate about this country. We love the young people. We believe in the dream of an African child. But the African child must also believe in their own dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. Some sound words there. Thank you so much for your time.